Shishi, the female lead, asks her driver, "Can you speed up? I feel like someone is following me." The driver drives very fast. However, due to a car coming from the opposite direction at a turn, the driver loses control and is thrown out of the car. Shishi, who was inside, falls unconscious into the water. A man, who is the male lead named Lu Jin, jumps into the water to save her. Shishi had sunk deep into the water, but Lu Jin manages to pull her up. After a while, Shishi opens her eyes and sees Lu Jin in front of her. Later, Shishi is at her house where a doctor is checking her. After regaining consciousness, Shishi says to her father, "Who are you?" The doctor explains, "You have temporary memory loss." A bodyguard informs Mr. Su, Shishi's father, "We have caught the driver." Mr. Su goes to see the driver, who is being interrogated harshly. The driver pleads his innocence, saying, "I didn't do anything wrong. Shishi asked me to drive fast." His pleas go unheard. We learn that Lu Jin is Shishi's personal bodyguard, hired by her father for her protection. Shishi, confused and unable to recall anything, wanders around her room. She gets scared after watching a horror series. Meanwhile, Mr. Su leaves for a business trip. Later, the maid brings food for Shishi. Lu Jin, who is standing outside her room, hears the maid screaming from inside. Rushing in, and finds out the bathtub water has turned red. Lu Jin quickly pulls Shishi out of the tub, but she is unharmed. Shishi gets up and puts on her bathrobe, but almost falls. Lu Jin catches her. Shishi grabs a brush and attacks Lu Jin, asking, "Who are you?" Lu Jin stops her, saying, "I'm your bodyguard." He ties her hands with his tie, explaining, "I need to prevent you from harming yourself." At that moment, Shishi recognizes Lu Jin as the man who saved her from the lake. Lu Jin takes her to bed. Shishi says, "I was not trying to harm myself. I just wanted to relax in the bath." Lu Jin finally frees Shishi's hands and leaves. The next day, Shishi walks in the garden. A reporter tries to take her picture. Lu Jin arrives just in time and uses his advance umbrella to break the reporter's camera. Shishi watches Lu Jin intently. Then Shishi's manager, Yan Ju, reveals, "The reporter is from a rival group who wants to sabotage your upcoming collaboration with a major company." The bodyguards take the reporter away and give him a warning. Yan Ju tells Shishi, "Your debut performance is scheduled for today, and you cannot miss it." Shishi, however, refuses to perform. She looks at Lu Jin and asks, "Should I do it?" Lu Jin says, "I cannot advise you, but do whatever you decide." Shishi smiles and asks, "Will you stay with me if I go ahead with the performance?" Lu Jin says, "I will, as it is my job." Shishi agrees to the performance. Shishi prepares for her debut performance, with Lu Jin by her side. Meng Yu, Shishi's rival, arrives. Shishi doesn't recognize her, but Lu Jin warns her, "Be cautious." Shishi ignores him and continues practicing. Meng Yu tries to disrupt her, but Shishi tells her, "Leave." He brings her water and helps her with her hair, making her feel shy and flustered. Meanwhile, Meng Yu, intending to sabotage Shishi's performance, tampers with the stage lights. Shishi is about to lip sync to her song, but the music suddenly stops. Her manager becomes extremely worried about Shishi. Then, Shishi singing live, performing beautifully, and everyone loves it. Suddenly, all the lights go out. A light fixture is about to fall on Shishi, but Lu Jin sees it in time and saves her. In the process, a piece of glass hits Lu Jin in the stomach, and a bit of blood splatters on Shishi's hand. Shishi realizes Lu Jin is injured. Lu Jin tells her, "Continue your performance." She does, and the audience loves it. However, her mind is filled with thoughts about Lu Jin. At her home, Shishi is lost in thoughts about Lu Jin. She hears a sound from the training room window and sees Lu Jin training with his bodyguards. Shishi stares at Lu Jin, lost in thought. She even secretly records him on her phone, revealing a growing fondness for him. Meanwhile, Lu Jin is at his friend Jian's coffee shop, watching Shishi's live performance on TV. Jian asks, "Why are you watching this? She used to be your enemy." Lu Jin explains, "This isn't the same Shishi. She's changed since losing her memory." He's surprised by her transformation. A flashback reveals the backstory. We learn that Lu Jin's real name is Gu Chan. His father was hospitalized after an accident and is in a coma. During the operation, a key is found in his father's stomach. The doctor gives the key to Lu Jin. He rushes home and finds a bookshelf in his father's room. The key unlocks a hidden room. Inside, Lu Jin finds photos of Shishi all over the walls, and he realizes that Shishi must be responsible for his father's accident. With Jian's help, he creates a new identity as Lu Jin and becomes Shishi's bodyguard. Back in the present, a boy named Ding sees Shishi's performance and says, "That's my friend, An Yu." He researches her and finds out her name is Shishi, not An Yu. He believes she must have changed her name. He remembers that Anyu went somewhere with her mother a few days ago. He finds Shishi's manager's number online and calls, claiming, "I'm Shishi's friend." The manager thinks it's a fan and hangs up. Meanwhile, Shishi goes out to meet the director and is accidentally bumped by a waitress. Lu Jin catches her, but his injury flares up in pain. Later in meeting, Shishi asks to Lu Jin, "Can I hold my drink?" But Lu Jin tells her, "You can't handle a full glass." She drinks it anyway, getting intoxicated. Lu Jin holds her and takes her away. He takes Shishi to her room. She grabs him tightly, pulls him close, and lies on top of him. She says, "I want to see where you're wound," and tries to open his shirt. He stops her, but she persists, whispering, "I have a secret I want to tell you." She confesses, "I have a crush on you." Lu Jin is shocked, knowing this isn't the real Shishi. He puts her to sleep and tries to leave. Just then, Shishi hugs him from behind and trying to get close. Lu Jin also can't able to hold it and starts kissing her, but it all was her dream. She wakes up and blushes as she remembers the dream. The maid and Lu Jin enter to wake her up. Shishi, feeling shy and embarrassed, claims, "I have a cough, I won't be going out." Lu Jin reminds her, "You have a meeting with the music director at the studio." Shishi reluctantly agrees to go. Later, Ding arrives to meet Shishi. Shishi's car arrives, and Ding tries to chat with her in a friendly way, but Lu Jin appears and pushes Ding towards the car and takes him aside to ask, "Who are you?" Ding explains, "Shishi and I are childhood friends. She used to live in a village, and her name is Anyu, not Shishi." Lu Jin asks for proof. Ding says, "You should come to the village with me. Everyone there knows Shishi and her mother." He asks Lu Jin, "What's your relationship with Shishi?" Lu Jin claims, "I'm her bodyguard." But Ding thinks that he pursuing Shishi, so he tries to punch Lu Jin, but he knocks him down. Lu Jin agrees to arrange a meeting between Ding and Shishi. Ding refuses, giving Lu Jin a food box to deliver to Shishi, saying, "She'll understand and come to meet me herself." Later, Shishi returns from her meeting. Lu Jin is standing there with gifts from Ding. Shishi seems to recognize it but claims, "I smell something bad," and throws it away. This makes Lu Jin suspicious. The three of them leave. Meanwhile, Shishi is experiencing a toothache. The maid reminds her, "The doctor told you not to eat candy because your wisdom teeth were taken out." Shishi is shocked because she was having pain in wisdom teeth. She then goes to a dental clinic at midnight, wearing a mask and cap. Lu Jin secretly follows her. Shishi goes inside the clinic, and Lu Jin waits for her outside. She comes out after her checkup and is surprised to see Lu Jin. He offers to take her home, but she stops him, asking, "Why didn't you inquire about my midnight visit?" Lu Jin says, "I don't care. My job is to keep you safe." Shishi insists, "I'm not the one you need to protect." He replies, "Yes, you are." Lu Jin returns to his father's room and looks at Shishi's photos. He realizes, "My father wasn't just searching for Shishi, but for both twin sisters." Meanwhile, Shishi gives Ding a candy with her number written on it. He calls her and she asks, "Can you take me to my fishing village at 11 o'clock tomorrow?" The next day, Shishi tries to sneak out of the office, but Lu Jin stops her. She goes to her vocal class, but Lu Jin stays with her. She fakes a stomachache, but Lu Jin has medicine ready. She claims, "It's not indigestion, it's my period," and asks him to get sanitary napkins, but he already has them. She's surprised and asks, "You carry them?" He explains, "For emergencies." Shishi goes to the washroom and makes a plan with a girl. The girl runs away after hitting a boy's back, making the boy think Lu Jin is responsible. He fights with Lu Jin, giving Shishi the chance to escape. Ding comes to pick her up for the village. He tells her, "You're Enyu, and you'll learn everything when we arrive at the village." Shishi and Ding arrive at the village. Mr. Su, who is also back from business trip, can't find Shishi. He calls her, and she tells him, "I'm at vocal class." He asks for Lu Jin. She gets nervous. Just then, Lu Jin also arrives and tells Mr. Su, "We're at a beach because Shishi is shooting a music video." Shishi grabs the phone and says, "I'll be safe," and hangs up. She asks to Ding, "Can I see the house?" Ding takes her to a houseboat and tells her, "You and your mom spent your childhood here." As Shishi looks around, it feels familiar. When they go outside, he also mentions, Mr. Su might have left Anyu and her mother, which could be why they were living in the village. Lu Jin asks about Anyu's mother. Ding reveals she was strict and didn't allow Anyu to leave the houseboat. Anyu only saw the world from the window. She also kept her away from mobile phones and the internet. After meeting me, we got her a mobile phone, but her mother took it away. Anyu's main goal was to gain freedom from the houseboat. Shishi realizes, "I'm Anyu." She thanks Ding. From now on, we will call her Anyu. Anyu says, "I will tell Mr. Su the truth and return to my life." Lu Jin warns, "Don't do that now because Mr. Su is very possessive of his daughter." So you need to act like Shishi because if Mr. Su suspects you, you could be in danger. Mr. Su and her manager Yeonju arrive at the village. She pretends to be surprised. Mr. Su asks, "How long will the shoot last?" Yeonju says, "We have to stay overnight." Mr. Su refuses and insists, "I'm taking Shishi home." And Yu says, "Old man, please leave. We have work to do." Shishi used to call her father old man. Hearing this, Mr. Su calms down a little and says, "I'll leave, but you must have dinner with me." And Yu agrees, and they start walking. An old lady recognizes her and about to tell her about her mother. And Yu rudely brushes her off. The old lady says, "You don't recognize me? Are you sick?" Mr. Su gets angry and yells at the lady. Lu Jin takes the lady away, and Yu is scared, realizing Mr. Su is so protective for Shishi. I need to act well, or he'll be suspicious. After dinner, everyone goes to see off Mr. Su. He asks Lu Jin, "Take good care of Shishi." Later, Anyu and Lu Jin visit the village market. Anyu wonders, is there a way to have plastic surgery to look like Shishi? She asks Lu Jin, "Check my face for any scars from surgery." He touches her face nervously and tells her, "You're real." And Yu sees a bracelet she likes, so Lu Jin buys it for her. They see a woman watching them, and Yu senses something strange and looks at her, but the woman disappears. They continue walking and see the woman again. Back at the boathouse, Yu finds an old mobile phone in a drawer and sees a message from her mother. It says, "You're Mr. Su's daughter and should stay there. Don't come back." The next day, preparations are made for the music video shoot, and Yu messages her mother asking, "Where are you and what does the message mean?" But there's no reply. The music video shoot starts, but the director notices that Shishi's performance lacks feeling. He starts to scold her, but Lu Jin steps in to defend her. Seeing Lu Jin's attitude, the director makes him the male model, and Yu gets nervous and says, he won't be able to do it, but Lu Jin agrees. Their shoot begins, and Yu is comfortable with Lu Jin and acts with feeling. They're shooting a romantic scene and are still lost in each other's eyes even after the director yells, "Cut!" Later, everyone is having a party. Yu sees her mother but is distracted by talking to Yeonju. The next moment, her mother disappears, and Yu rushes to look for her. Lu Jin notices that Anyu isn't with Yeonju and asks, "Where is she?" Yeonju says, "She left." He finds Anyu near the houseboat, feeling sad. She wonders, why did my mother never love me and where did she suddenly go? Lu Jin comforts her. Later, Shishi and Lu Jin are walking to the studio when a girl spills juice on Shishi. Lu Jin stops the juice with his umbrella and the bodyguards catch the girl. She calls the media, accusing Shishi of bullying her. Yeonju comes out to handle the situation, taking the media inside for tea and water. In the next scene, Anyu tells Lu Jin about her mother's message on her old phone, and they discuss finding out the truth. That evening, Mr. Su is going out, so Lu Jin plans to go to his room and hopes to find information about the twins in his room. Meanwhile, Anyu is messaging her mother but getting no reply. Lu Jin avoids the cameras and reaches Mr. Su's room. He sees a locker and tries to unlock it but hears someone coming. He hides behind the door. It's Anyu, who's also come to find evidence. She starts to open the locker but touches a switch, turning on all the monitors because Mr. Su uses them to watch everyone. She hears Mr. Su returning from her room and starts to panic. Lu Jin hides her behind the curtains. Mr. Su checks the monitors and sees Shishi entering his room, but not leaving. He starts looking around. When he pulls back the curtains, he sees Anyu and Lu Jin in a romantic embrace. Anyu yells at her dad, and Lu Jin leaves. Mr. Su asks, "What's going on?" Anyu says, "I was just having fun and didn't know you'd be back so soon." He asks, "What was Lu Jin doing here? Did he force you?" She says, "No, he was nervous." She have an earbud on her dress, which Lu Jin was using to listen to their conversation. And Yu tells her dad, "I like Lu Jin." Mr. Su is shocked and says, "Lu Jin isn't good enough for you." And Yu gets emotional and says, "You're always on business trips. I feel lonely. I forget what my mother looked like." Mr. Su gets emotional and tells her, "We all love you, especially your mother." Her dad opens the locker and takes out a box containing a framed footprint of Shishi and her birth certificate. She learns that her mother's name was different and that they only had one child. He shows her a childhood video of them with Shishi. He tells her, "Your mother loved you most in the world because you were our only child." And Yu and Lu Jin are surprised to hear this. Meanwhile, Anyu's mother has hidden the real Shishi somewhere else. Now, we see a flashback to when Yeonju became Shishi's manager. She saw Shishi in a wheelchair, but this was a misunderstanding. Later, Shishi humiliates Yeonju by slapping her maid after an argument. Someone records this scene. In the present, the video of Shishi slapping the maid has gone viral, causing a lot of negative comments. Mr. Su asks Lu Jin to handle the situation. He notices a change in Shishi's behavior, especially toward her bodyguard. He checks the monitors in his room and sees Shishi and Lu Jin together. And Yu is watching the same video and is about to say something to Lu Jin, but he points out the cameras. She goes closer to him and says, "Shishi used to act differently. Why hasn't anyone suspected me yet?" Lu Jin explains, "Because of your memory loss, people aren't paying much attention to you." And Yu pulls Lu Jin aside and says, "Tell me the truth about why you went to Mr. Su's room." Lu Jin reveals, "Our goal is the same, to uncover the truth." He shares the results of Yu's DNA test, confirming, "You're Mr. Su's daughter." And Yu, surprised, asks, "Then who is Shishi?" Lu Jin says, "Mr. Su might be hiding a big secret, which is why he kept you from the world." He warns her, "If Mr. Su suspects you, it could put you in a lot of danger." And Yu takes back the earbud Lu Jin had been using to eavesdrop on her and warns him, "Don't try those tricks again." She leaves. Meanwhile, Lu Jin's video of saving Shishi from the juice incident went viral. The public is enjoying their chemistry, and many people are starting to ship them as a couple. Yanshu, seeing this as an opportunity, suggests Shishi and Lu Jin should pretend to be a couple to keep her trending and clear her negative image. She plans to create a vlog of their daily life and post it on social media. Lu Jin immediately says no. When pressed by Yanshu, he remains silent. Yanshu accuses him, "You have a secret you don't want the world to know, that you have feelings for Shishi, and you're refusing because you're afraid your feelings will be exposed by the cameras." Lu Jin denies this, saying, "People in my field have principles. I have no personal feelings for her." Later, Mr. Su calls Lu Jin for a talk and asks, "What do you think of my daughter?" Lu Jin says, "She is my employer, whom I must protect." Mr. Su says, "You two seem to be good friends. Shishi is more receptive to your advice now. She used to be stubborn and short-tempered. A medical team is coming next month to check on Shishi. Can you convince her?" Lu Jin agrees. Meanwhile, Yanju tells Shishi about a show she have to shoot. In the elevator, her co-actor introduces himself, "I'm Chuan." Lu Jin ignores him. The director explains the scenes, and the shoot begins. And Yu has to do a skating scene she doesn't know how to do. When she slips and almost falls, Lu Jin catches her gracefully. The director gets angry. This is a dating show, not an action movie. Anyu asks Lu Jin to leave. The scenes include romantic dialogues between Anyu and Chuan. Jin watches with anger as Chuan gets close to Anyu. He squeezes a water bottle until it crushes. That evening, Chuan offers to get an umbrella for Anyu as it's about to rain. Lu Jin, already prepared, brings an umbrella. He uses a hidden knife to cut Chuan's umbrella. Anyu sees this but doesn't say anything. Happy, Chuan arrives with the ripped umbrella and gets embarrassed. Jin takes Anyu away. And Yu, reading the script in her hotel room, asks Jin, "Did you do it on purpose?" He denies it and continues checking the room. Noticing her script, which includes a kissing scene, Jin looks at it. And Yu explains, "It's not a real kiss." Jin says, "I shouldn't interfere." And Yu teases him by reading the script in a romantic tone, describing the hand-holding and kissing scenes. Jin becomes jealous. And Yu continues to describe the kissing scene and asks, "How was the scene?" Jin replies, "It wasn't decent. Let's change the scene." She asks, "Are you jealous?" Lu Jin denies it. Chuan arrives for rehearsal, and Yu is about to open the door, but Jin stops her. He gets close and asks, "Is that scene like this?" Outsiders aren't needed for rehearsal. He gets closer, making Anyu nervous. She tells Chuan, "I'm not feeling well. I'll rest." Chuan leaves. Jin is about to kiss Anyu, but she tells him, "Wake me up at 7 a.m. tomorrow." Jin goes outside, smiling, and Yu blushes thinking about him. And Yu gets a call from Ding, who says, "I found a photo of your bodyguard from a year ago, where he was hiding and following Shishi before becoming her bodyguard." And Yu is shocked. And Yu takes Lu Jin at the movie theater asking, "What about the photo? What was your purpose in the Su family?" Jin remains silent. And Yu asks, "Do you like Shishi? That's why you treat me like Shishi?" She reminds him, "I'm not Shishi." Jin stays silent. And Yu says, "If you don't want to tell me, it's fine. I have secrets too. If you ask, I'll tell you." Jin tells her, "I won't ask." And Yu, upset, leaves. Jin follows her. Paparazzi start taking pictures as they go out. Jin grabs Anyu's hand and runs, leading her to a place where they hide behind a wall. This moment brings them closer. After the paparazzi leave, Anyu is scared by a cat crossing the road. Jin uses his lighter and asks, "Are you afraid of the dark?" She says, "No," but Jin stops her, says, "I could have lied about all the questions you asked, but I didn't because I wouldn't lie to you. Please don't leave me." And Yu tells him, "Okay, you can tell me when you feel the time is right." She asks about Shishi. "What does she mean to you?" Jin assures her, "I never treated Shishi like you and have no feelings for her." and Yu is happy. They go to the ghost market together, enjoying the walk even though it's dark. They have fun, buy candy, and An Yu makes a starlight candy for Jin. He says, "You're my starlight," and Yu kisses Jin, and then the lights come on. They kiss again, but neither has confessed their love yet. In the next scene, we see the shooting set where An Yu and Chuan are about to shoot a romantic scene. Seeing this, Jin gets jealous. Chuan is about to eat candy close when a dart goes through the candy close. Nobody knows what happened, but An Yu realizes it was Jin playing a prank. She smiles at him. Later, who is still jealous, An Yu brings him some candy close. Seeing the toys in the house, An Yu asks Jin, "Did you enjoy play darts?" Jin asks, "Did you enjoy candy close?" An Yu gives him some and tells him, "Try it yourself." He takes her into his arms and then takes a bite. To tease An Yu, he tries to kiss her. An Yu closes her eyes, but Lu Jin smiles and moves away. An Yu then receives an album cover from Yan Shu with lines from a poem by Trigon. An Yu remembers hearing it and finds the whole book. Reading Trigon's poem, she has flashbacks of her mom, including a memory of her mom diving in a lake under a bridge. She's being told, "Meet her near a juniper tree." Hearing this, An Yu asks Lu Jin, "Can you take me to the bridge where Shishi had her accident?" An Yu's mom used to read that poem, so An Yu is reminded of her. This triggers memories about her mom, bringing back details of what happened. She remembers her mom saying, "When Shishi's car falls off the bridge, I will pull Shishi out from the water, and you will be in her place. Stay in the Su family as Shishi." Slowly, An Yu starts remembering things about her life. That was the plan her mother had made. Lu Jin asks her, "Do you remember anything?" But An Yu refuses to answer. She wants to find her mother first to understand everything about this exchange. Then, Lu Jin found out that 26 years ago, Jin's dad and An Yu's mom, An Mi, who was a doctor too, along with another doctor named Zhang, were working on a medical plan. Their aim was to save the life of Mr. Shu's wife and Shishi. Shishi had cancer by birth, but Mr. Shu wanted to save her at any cost. For this, he was even ready to sacrifice An Yu. So they were experimenting together to save Shishi's life through An Yu. But for some reason, it failed. After 3 months, that medical team was disbanded. But now Lu Jin doesn't understand why Mr. Shu would want to kill his healthy daughter to save his sick daughter. On the other hand, Mr. Shu came to know about An Mi because she was seen on shooting set. Due to this, Mr. Shu now starts getting suspicious. Then his butler says, "Is Shishi the same girl you are looking for?" This also makes Mr. Shu suspicious because since the accident, she has been behaving very strangely. That is why Mr. Shu asks the butler to keep an eye on her. Then he remembers the flashback of 26 years ago, when he had deployed a medical team to treat Shishi's cancer through An Yu. Then An Mi told Mr. Shu that during the time, An Yu had died. She lied to Mr. Shu to An Yu. But at that time, Mr. Shu was not sad about the death of that girl. He was worried about Shishi. Due to this, he got very angry and then beat An Mi very badly. But now seeing her alive, Mr. Shu doubts her too. Then we come to know that An Yu's mother was keeping an eye on her everywhere. She calls An Yu to meet her at Chilling Mountain by sending a message. An Yu invites Chuan to Chilling Mountain under the pretense of a date. However, Chuan has hired a reporter to take their picture the next day to create a scandal. An Yu tells Lu Jin not to come with her tomorrow. Lu Jin goes to the underground parking where he meets An Yu's mother. She tells him, "Tomorrow when I shout 9, you need to save An Yu. Her life is in danger." She explains about Lu Jin's dad's accident, saying, "Your dad was on the phone with me during the accident, but Mr. Shu's men attacked him because they learned about An Yu and me. Your dad was helping us, so they tried to kill him. Now Mr. Shu doubts An Yu's identity too, so when I shout 9, you must save her." The next day, Lu Jin silently follows An Yu's car. Chuan arrives shortly after. An Yu takes him up and down the mountain a few times before heading into the forest to meet her mother. Lu Jin secretly follows her, but Mr. Shu has sent 2 of his men after An Yu as well, and they are also coming in the same direction. When An Yu meets her mother, Mr. Shu's bodyguards reveal themselves. An Yu's mother holds a knife to An Yu's neck and tells her to stay calm. Both sides have guns drawn. Lu Jin steps out to intervene, but soon Mr. Shu arrives. An Yu's mother declares, "I'm doing this to take revenge on you," hoping to clear Mr. Shu's doubts about An Yu. She adds, "If you want to save Shishi's life, you have to jump off the hill." She starts counting from 1 to 10. Just as she counts to 9, an arrow strikes her hand, causing her to fall off the hill. Lu Jin catches An Yu and covers her mouth to keep her from crying out. and Yu's mother sacrifices herself to save her daughter, and Mr. Shu sends his men down to confirm her death. They all return home, and Mr. Shu's suspicions about An Yu begin to lessen. Later, the butler informs him, "We found An Mi's body and she is dead." Meanwhile, An Yu is heartbroken, but pretends to be asleep. Lu Jin knows she is grieving, so he covers her with a blanket and leaves. After a while, An Yu receives an email on her phone, which An Mi had set to send with a timer before she died. An Yu sneaks into the bathroom to open the email. It contains a video where An Mi reveals everything. When both of you were born, it was discovered that Shishi had cancer due to her mother's genes, but An Yu was healthy. Mr. Shu decided to sacrifice An Yu to prevent the genetic cancer. He called a medical team, and I was in charge of this plan, but I couldn't bear to see it happen. So, I hid An Yu and told Mr. Shu that the experiment failed, and during this time, An Yu was thought to have died. I took An Yu far away to keep her safe from Mr. Shu. A year ago, he learned she was alive and sent his men to find her. To protect An Yu, I planned to replace you with Shishi, but things went wrong because of An Yu's memory loss, leading Mr. Shu to suspect her. That's why I had to take this drastic step, to make sure he doesn't doubt her anymore. Everything I did was to save you. Now you have to save yourself by becoming Shishi. Don't worry about the real Shishi. She is happy and free wherever she is. Just take care of yourself." Hearing this, An Yu feels very sad and starts to cry. Then she gets a message from Ding, who found An Mi's contact details. He discovered she had only called one number for years. An Yu calls that number, which belongs to Jin's father. Jin is surprised and answers the call. Neither speaks, but An Yu hears the sound of Jin locking his car and recognizes him. She disconnects the call, mistakenly thinking Jin knew everything and hadn't told her. She thinks to herself, "Everyone lied to me and deceived me. No one cares about An Yu anymore, so I will just be Shishi now." The next day, Mr. Su and tell An Yu about her mom's death, assuring her, "You will be safe now." He asks, "Why you went to Qingling Mountain?" An Yu says, "I was on a date with Chuan." Mr. Su, surprised, asks, "Do you like him?" An Yu replies, "Why wouldn't I?" Then she asks, "Can you replace Jin? Because my memory is back." Mr. Su is delighted by this. Jin is confused by An Yu's sudden change. He asks her, "What's with this new behavior?" An Yu explains, "I want to be Shushu now. Stay out of my way." Jin is worried because An Yu was actively avoiding him before. Concerned, Jin tells Mr. Su, "Shushu needs to learn self-defense to protect herself. I can teach her." Mr. Su agrees and reminds Jin, "The medical team will arrive in 3 days to do a full-body checkup on Shushu. You need to convince her." Jin takes An Yu for self-defense training, but she doesn't want. He forces her to learn, and during the session asks, "Why are you acting so distant?" And Yu says, "I don't want to be close to you." She tries to leave, but Jin stops her by a pillar and tells her, "Vent your anger on me." And Yu asks, "Do you think I'm pretending to be strong and need your comfort?" Jin says, "If you don't feel that way, then push me away." He then forcefully kisses her, and Yu kicks him back. He gives her a pen that doubles as a knife and encourages her, "Attack." She hesitates and walks away. Meanwhile, Jin asks Ji Yang to find the location of the number that called An Yu's dad the previous day. Ji Yang finds the location, and Jin understands that An Yu had a misunderstanding. An Yu heads towards the meeting point, but Jin follows her, wanting to clear up the misunderstanding. An Yu refuses to listen and instructs her bodyguards, "Stop him." These bodyguards are actually Jin's teammates, but Jin doesn't fight them and lets them go. Meeting Chuan, An Yu learns he was bluffing. He thought she went to meet Jin and threatened, "I'll tell Mr. Su about your relationship." And Yu tells him, "Go ahead, tell Mr. Su, but my father will be furious if he knows you're threatening me." She also reveals, "I recorded our conversation." Chuan is scared. Later, she is with Chuan when Jin arrives, wanting to talk to An Yu, but the bodyguards block him. He warns, "I don't want to fight," but they stand firm because An Yu ordered them. Jin fights them single-handedly and manages to defeat them. Then Jin offers her, "If you need anything, just ask." And Yu tells Jin, "I don't trust you anymore." He suggests, "Then use me to get out of the medical checkup in 3 days. He offers his help and leaves. And Yu returns home and argues with Mr. Su about the medical checkup. He insists, "It's necessary," but An Yu is stubborn. She calls Jin to her room to discuss the problem. They talk in a way that won't raise Mr. Su's suspicion, as the room is monitored. They realize the only way to avoid the medical team is to find the real Shishi. They decide, we need to find Shishi and avoid the medical team until then. The next morning, she tells Mr. Su, I won't go for the checkup. It's useless. I don't have much time left due to the cancer. Mr. Su insists, but Anyu takes a fork and holds it to her throat, threatening, I'll kill myself if you force me. Mr. Su is terrified and tries to calm her down. Anyu, angry, tells him, I feel suffocated in this house with all the cameras. I don't want to see you. Mr. Su agrees to leave the house. Jin arrives, takes the fork from Anyu, and suggests to Mr. Su she might be frustrated in the house. Maybe send her to a resort for a while to refresh her mood. He assures Mr. Su, I'll keep her safe. Mr. Su agrees. Jin takes Anyu to the resort and tells her the truth. He confesses, I met your mom before the incident. She asked me to protect you because Mr. Su was suspicious of her. I didn't think she would sacrifice herself to save you. Anyu is emotional. Jin takes her to meet his dad, who's been in a coma for a year. He explains, your mom and my dad were protecting you all along. You're that important to them. This clears the misunderstanding between them. Jin promises, I'll always protect you and never leave your side. They are both happy, but Jiang calls them away. They then embark on a mission to find Shishi to get her medical test done. Jin says, maybe your mom and Shishi were together. Jiang, after looking at the accident footage, says, it's possible. It's not easy to switch bodies so quickly after an accident like that. Jin remembers what Shishi's driver said. Shishi asked me to increase the car's speed on the day of the accident. He believes Shishi intentionally sped up the car to make the driver lose control and cause the car to fall off the bridge. This makes Anyu recall, my mom asked me to wait under the juniper tree. Shishi is at the juniper tree. The scene shifts to a house where a girl is watching news about Anyu's mom's death. She sends multiple messages asking, where's are you? Are you alive? But gets no reply. She deletes all the messages and leaves the house. This reveals her to be the real Shishi. A flashback to a year ago reveals Shishi's struggles with her annual medical checkups. The procedures caused her immense pain, leading her to contemplate suicide as a means of escape. During this, Anyu's mom secretly met Shishi at the hospital. She told Shishi, I treated a similar patient before, but that patient suffered even more pain during treatment than you. Shishi asked, can you cure me? Anyu's mom responded, I can't cure you, but I can grant you freedom, allow you to escape the agonizing and ultimately futile treatment. They exchanged contact information, marking the start of their ongoing communication. In the present, Shishi is overjoyed to be free from her former life. Meanwhile, Anyu has successfully located her. As Anyu, Jin, and Jiang prepare to search for Shishi, Tiansu appears at Jiang's shop and uncovering his secret hideout. She's shocked to find all three of them together, but they quickly realize she's there. Later, Jiang explained the situation to her. Meanwhile, Jin and Anyu head towards the resort. Before leaving, Jin takes Anyu to his fishing village so she can say goodbye to her mom. Later, they all arrive at the resort and make a plan. Anyu and Jin will go find Shishi, while the other three stay behind to handle any potential issues. Jin and Anyu arrive at the location. Anyu tells Jin about her childhood friend she only met once. She last saw this friend here when she was young. Her mother was talking to someone while Anyu was playing. A boy approached her and asked, why are you alone? Anyu invited him to sit with her because her mother had told her a horror story, leaving her afraid to be alone. The boy sat down, and Anyu watched as he drank a Coke. She had never seen someone drink Coke before, and had only ever spoken to her mother. The boy shared his Coke with Anyu, and she loved it. He asked, have you ever tried Coke before? Anyu told him, this is my first time because I've never left my mother's boat. The boy said, your life must be very exciting, traveling the world on your boat. Anyu replies, I've only seen the ocean so far and you're the first person I've ever talked to besides my mother. The boy was upset by her words. He picked up a leaf, made many small holes in it, and showed her the Sydney Opera House. Anyu was shocked. He shows her many famous places around the world. In the present, Anyu takes Jin to the same spot. Jin immediately creates the Sydney Opera House out of the same materials. Anyu is amazed. This means the boy from her childhood was actually Jin. It also confirms that Anyu's mother went to meet Jin's father. Overjoyed by this revelation, Jin assures Anyu, I'll always be by your side. They continue walking until they reach a house. A juniper tree stands outside. They knock on the door, but no one answers. They then separate to look for Shishi. Shishi runs to Jin and hugs him, and Yu sees them together. Finally, she meets Shishi face to face. Later, Lu Jin shows Shishi their DNA test results and tells her they have a 99.99% chance of being twins. Shishi is surprised and asks, "Dad never told me about you." And Yu explains, "I just found out a few days ago." Shishi doesn't want to go with them. She wants to spend her last few days in peace. Lu Jin tells her, "A medical team is coming to check you over. If you don't come with us, they will take on you. Your dad will find you soon, so this could be a problem for you too." And Yu adds, "Don't you want to meet your dad? He's worried about you." Shishi says, "I'll think about it tomorrow," and leaves. Later that night, Shishi goes to An Yu's room and stares at her. An Yu wakes up and is surprised to see her. Shishi says, "If we're really twins, then all our body organs will be the same." And Yu doesn't understand and asks, "What do you mean?" The next day, Shishi agrees to go with them, but she has some condition. Then they leaves for the resort. Meanwhile, Mr. Su reaches the resort. Tiansu tells the others to hide upstairs and then welcomes Mr. Su. He asks, "Why are you here?" Tiansu replies, "Shishi called me." Mr. Su calls out, "Shishi." Tiansu says, "She didn't sleep well last night and is resting." Mr. Su doesn't want to wake her, so he sits down and talk. The butler tells Mr. Su, "Doctor, Zheng's flight is delayed by an hour." Mr. Su wants to wake Shishi and says she should get ready. He starts heading upstairs to call her, but Tiansu stops him and says, "I'll get her." She goes upstairs. Mr. Su also comes to upset, so Tiansu says, "Shishi is awake." Mr. Su doesn't believe her and going to check on her. Tiansu says, "She's taking a bath." Mr. Su is suspicious and says, "I'll see for myself." He hears Shishi's voice from inside the bathroom, but it's actually Ding, who's taking a bath. He had called An Yu earlier and put the phone on speaker. That's why they could hear Shishi's voice. She was talking on An Yu's phone. Mr. Su believes them and goes outside. After some time, the real Shishi arrives at the resort from the backside. She hugs her dad and says, "I missed you so much." They leave for the hospital. Meanwhile, Jin has brought An Yu to his apartment because she needs to hide there for a few days. At night, there's only one bed. Jin says, "I'll sleep on the sofa," but he can't be able to control and tries to get close to An Yu, but she stops him and says, "I'm on my period." This makes things awkward, but they will have more chances in the future. Meanwhile, after checkup, Shishi wants to go out, but the bodyguard won't let her leave. She asks, "How did Jin treat me after the accident?" The bodyguard explains, "Jin took care of you then and still does." He has become popular because people saw a video of him saving An Yu from an angry fan. The public thinks they are a couple. Shishi gets angry when she sees the video. She throws the phone at the bodyguard and says, "I don't care." Then she leaves. Jin and An Yu are having a romantic morning when Jin gets a message from Shishi. She has asked An Yu to meet at the office. They wonder what she wants to talk about. Shishi had told Mr. Su, "I want Jin to have a break for a few days." Mr. Su agrees to give Jin a few days off. Jin arrives and tells them the car is ready for Shishi. Before leaving, Shishi reminds her dad about the promise. Then she goes to Jin. She tries to take something off his suit, but he steps back. They leave for the office. Meanwhile, An Yu has secretly gone to office. Tiansu teases her what happened last night, making An Yu blush. Shishi and Jin arrive. Jin goes to An Yu. The three of them ignore Shishi. Shishi says, "I'll only be responsible for the weekly medical checkups, and you will do everything else as me." Jin and Tensu are worried because this is risky for An Yu. Shishi reminds them, "This was my condition for returning and I want to spend my last days peacefully." An Yu agrees and says, "I'll do it." Shishi tells Jin, "I've given you a few days off so you don't have to follow An Yu anymore. During this time, you'll be my bodyguard." They switch places, and An Yu, as Shishi, leaves with the other bodyguard. After that, Shishi leaves with Jin. She tries to get closer to him, but he doesn't give her much attention because he realizes she's doing this to keep him away from An Yu. An Yu works hard all day, completing her shooting and live streaming tasks. Then she goes back to Jin's apartment, missing him very much. Shishi takes a selfie with Jin and posts it on social media, and Yu is surprised when she sees it, and Yu falls asleep while waiting for Jin to return. He comes back and wakes her up. They both admit, "I missed you a lot." Jin apologizes, "I'm sorry I couldn't see you all day." And Yu asks, "Would you recognize Shishi if she acted like me?" Jin pulls her close and says, "Even if she looks like you, I would recognize her in a second." Their romance starts to blossom. Jin mentions, "I want to escape to a faraway place with you after punishing the person responsible for my dad's condition." 2 days later, it's An Yu's birthday. Jin plans to watch a movie with her, but Shishi also has her birthday on the same day. She plans a party where she will perform on stage. This is her way of separating Anyu from Jin again, because Anyu will have to come on stage. At first, Mr. Su refuses to let Shishi perform, but Shishi says, "It could be my last birthday, so I want to enjoy it to the fullest." Mr. Su gets emotional and agrees. He tells Tiansu about it. Tiansu talks to Anyu and says, "You have to perform at the party as Shishi." Ding tries to stop Anyu from performing, but Tiansu says, "We can't do anything. It's been decided." We see the birthday party scene. Shishi's performance is about to begin. Anyu and Shishi switch places in the changing room. Anyu comes out as Shishi and plays the piano and sings. While listening, Jin remembers their shared memories. Everyone wishes Anyu a happy birthday. Anyu returns to Shishi's room. She wishes Shishi happy birthday and gives her a gift. The gift includes a mirror selfie of Anyu. Shishi is happy and hugs her, but then she secretly injects Anyu with a medicine that makes her unconscious. Anyu faints. Shishi throws the gift away, and as Anyu goes to Jin, Anyu wakes up a long time later. She sees the gift in the trash and realizes what Shishi did. Shishi leaves with Jin to watch a movie. She silences his phone and keeps it in her purse, so Anyu can't reach him. Anyu remembers their conversation from the night before, where she asked, "Would you recognize Shishi if she acted like me?" She trusts him. Shishi is trying her best to act like Anyu, but Jin is starting to suspect her. Anyu has a live stream on Shishi's birthday, and she's preparing for it. Mr. Su brings her a birthday cake he made himself. Meanwhile, Shishi tries to get close to Jin, but he tells her, "Stop pretending. I know you're not Anyu." She asks, "How did you know?" He says, "I recognized you from the first time I saw you, but I went along with it to avoid causing more trouble that could put Anyu in danger." He leaves with his phone and says, "I've called someone to take you away." Shishi follows him and asks, "Why did you reject me? And you just a substitute for me. Everything she has is mine." Jin tells her, "What your Asla want to be her substitute by taking her place just now." Now we see Meng Yu and a reporter. Shishi starts her live stream, and her fans shower her with praise. Meng Yu gets angry when she sees this. Just then, C sees real Shishi with Jin and says, "My mind is going crazy thinking about Shishi. I see her everywhere." The reporter asks, "How is this possible?" Shishi is live streaming right now. Meng Yu says, "Now I understand how she could do live singing. There must be her look-alike with whom she exchanged places." She tells the driver, "Turn the car around," to catch her red-handed. But before she could reach there, Jin calls his friend Jiang and sends Shishi back home. Then he goes to find Anyu. Anyu, in a very sad mood, picks up her birthday cake and reaches the movie theater. She is alone, and after watching the movie, she's about to celebrate her birthday when Jin enters. Both of them get very happy seeing each other. Jin says, "I'm sorry for being late." Then they celebrate her birthday. When they get back home, their romance starts again. Meanwhile, Shishi was very angry with Jin because everyone is supporting Anyu. Therefore, she is even more angry with Anyu. So she says, "I will make Anyu disappear from here." The next day, there was a press meet for a perfume brand, whose brand ambassador was Shishi and Meng Yu. Anyu was getting ready to attend it, but Shishi locks her changing room and says, "I will never let you take my place." Then she leaves for the press meet. There she meets Meng Yu, but she doesn't pay much attention to her. Meng Yu had also come with a plan. She tells the press, "We have planned a surprise performance where both of us will do live singing." Hearing this, Shishi gets worried. Her health was already deteriorating, and Yu is trying her best to come out of the changing room, but she can't open the door. Shishi tells them, "I haven't come to sing, but to promote the brand. If I sing here, people will only talk about my singing. The brand won't benefit much from this." Taking this excuse, she leaves from there and returns to her room. And Yu asks her, "Open the door." Shishi doesn't open the door because she is feeling very unwell. She is panicked. So she tries to take out her medicine, but the medicine falls from her hand. She was unable to even reach for it because she was almost unconscious. And Yu tries to see what's happening through the gap under the door. She sees Shishi's hand in the medicine, which makes her realize that Shishi's condition is bad, so she tears a piece of cloth and sets it on fire. Then she takes it near the smoke detector, which sets off the alarm. Hearing the alarm, Shishi's bodyguards rush there. One of them picks up her medicine and gives it to her. After eating the medicine, Shishi gets slightly conscious, and she becomes normal. Then she scolds the bodyguard and tells him, "Don't tell Mr. Su anything about this." She opens the door of Anyu's room. She says to Anyu, "You must hate me." Anyu replies, "No, but I feel you want me to disappear from your life. If you wanted to, you would have told your dad about me, but you didn't do that. I think you are just like a child who lost her dearest thing, so you are doing all this." Shishi tells her, "Stop this nonsense. I didn't tell my dad about you because I didn't want him to know that he had another daughter. You took Jin away from me, but I won't let you take my dad away from me. As they were talking, Meng Yu arrives at the door. The guards don't allow her to enter. Shishi goes out to handle her, but An Yu stops and tells her, "Rest, I'll handle it." Before leaving, she tells Shishi, "I never hated you, but I was very happy to meet you." She goes out, but the guards don't allow Meng Yu to go near her and leaves. Meanwhile, Mr. Shu discovers An Yu's secret because of her dental reports. The butler then asks, "Why is Shishi helping them?" Mr. Shu replies, "She probably played the twin sister drama with Shishi well enough to make her believe it. That's why she's helping her." The butler suggests, "Should I send people to find An Yu?" Mr. Shu responds, "It's unnecessary. She'll come to us on her own once she switches back with Shishi." Looking at Shishi's schedule, Mr. Shu finds out she has a song recording that day. They will switch their identities again to record the song. He plans to take An Yu to the lab. An Yu gets ready to go to the studio and gets in a car with a new driver. Her driver was sent by Mr. Shu with instructions to take Shishi to the lab, not the studio. An Yu realizes something is wrong when the driver takes a different route. She tries to message Jin, but it doesn't go through. She says to herself, "Mr. Shu has figured out our plan." She makes an excuse to stop the car, but the driver ignores her. Meanwhile, Ding calls Jin and says, "And you should have reached the studio 10 minutes ago. She's not there, and I'm worried." Jin turns his car around and tries to call An Yu, but her call was unreachable. He's concerned. Shishi tells Jin, "My father might have found out everything, but I can help you. If you can find An Yu before my father does, we can still turn things around." Jin immediately calls everyone to try and track An Yu's location. Meanwhile, Mr. Shu arrives at the underground lab and says to Dr. Zeng, "An Yu will be here soon. Start the surgery as soon as she arrives." An Yu's presence could be the key to curing Shishi's illness. In the car, An Yu pretends to be sick. She drops her medication and pushes it toward the driver, asking, "Can you pick it up for me?" When the driver complies, she adds, "Could you open the window, please?" The driver opens the window and stops the car to pick up the medication. Taking this opportunity, An Yu types a message on her phone and throws it out to a girl nearby. She makes eye contact with the girl, signaling her to check the phone. The driver gives An Yu her medication and continues driving. The girl picks up the phone and calls Jin. She tells Jin the location of the car. Jin realizes the driver is taking An Yu to the underground lab. He calls Ding and says, "Stop her car." Ding tells the driver, "There's construction ahead. You need to stop." While the driver is distracted, An Yu takes the chance to get out and switch places with Shishi. Jin drives An Yu away, while Shishi stays in the car, heading back to the lab. Once at the lab, Shishi undergoes a checkup. Dr. Zeng confirms she is the real Shishi, not An Yu. Mr. Shu, shocked, goes outside to talk to Shishi. He asks, "Where's An Yu?" Shishi in pain asks, "Who is An Yu? Is she my twin sister? And you didn't tell me?" Mr. Shu avoids answering her questions. Shishi, exhausted from the checkups, pleads, "Dad, please stop. I just want to spend my last days peacefully." Mr. Shu consoles her, saying, "You'll recover soon. You'll be healthier than anyone else." Shishi returns home with her father. She's no longer afraid of dying. Her only concern is how her father will take care of himself after she's gone. At that moment, she receives a call from An Yu, who asks, "How's your health?" They share their experiences and emotions. Meanwhile, reporter Lee publishes articles about An Yu and Shishi being twins, with supporting evidence and videos. And he says, "I'll expose your 26-year-old secret, and we'll take revenge." Now we see a large cut on Lee's back, suggesting a mysterious connection to Mr. Shu. Meanwhile, Mr. Shu asks to take down all the articles and videos. Ji Yang and other members of An Yu's team discuss how to protect An Yu, knowing that Mr. Shu will not remain silent after everything that's happened. They decide that the twin story is the safest option for An Yu, because as long as the articles are circulating, people will keep talking about An Yu. Jin then instructs them to spread these articles further. However, to keep An Yu safe, they need to present An Yu and Shishi to the public. Tianshu suggests that Shishi and Mr. Shu are going to appear on a popular show. They decide to bring An Yu to the show during the live broadcast. Mr. Shu increases security around Shishi to prevent An Yu and Shishi from being swapped. He also deploys people to search for An Yu and Jin, but they fail to locate Jin. Meng Yun is also supposed to be on the show, so Jin plans to bring An Yu there using Meng Yun. To do this, they stops Meng Yun's car on the way, and An Yu talks with Meng Yun. An Yu lies, saying, "Shishi is using me to her idol career, but I don't want." Meng Yun sees an opportunity to expose Shishi's truth and eliminate her as competition. Then An Yu arrives with Meng Yun, and because of her mask, The guards don't recognize her. Mr. Shu's butler does recognize her, but before he can act, Meng Yun's bodyguards stop him, allowing An Yu to go inside. As soon as Mr. Shu finds out, he sends his bodyguards to find An Yu. Meanwhile, An Yu is evading the bodyguards, and Jin disables them one by one. He escorts An Yu to the show, but they are pursued again. One of the guards is Jin's friend, and he managed to escape the others, reaching the show after fighting everyone. At the show, Shishi announces her retirement. She says, "It's for personal reasons." Mr. Shu is shocked, but doesn't react. Then the host announces a surprise for Shishi and Mr. Shu, their daughter, An Yu. The audience and Mr. Shu are shocked. In front of the media, Mr. Shu accepts her as his daughter, and they both act like they're having a tearful reunion. An Yu becomes the center of attention, and Mr. Shu gives an interview with her. Shishi leaves the show, but Mr. Shu continues to act for the cameras. Meng Yun is shocked. She thought she'd be the one to expose Shishi, but now they're having a reunion. Meng Yun tries to intervene, but Tiansu stops her. Mr. Shu takes An Yu outside where the media is waiting. They start asking questions. Mr. Shu tells them, "An Yu was kidnapped as a child, and we've been searching for her." He says, "An Yu's mother kidnapped her and has already been punished. I'll take care of An Yu now." Mr. Shu even tells the media, An Yu is sick. Jin returns to Mr. Shu's house because An Yu is being interviewed. Jin tells An Yu, "You need to keep busy Mr. Shu with the interview as long as possible. I'm going to go to his study room and try to access the system for the biotechnology lab's underground base." An Yu is busy with the interview while Jin tries to hack into Mr. Shu's computer system, but he can't change the user. Ji Yang helps him. They need to add a new user to access the system, so Jin gives his fingerprint. This process takes 10 minutes to complete. Mr. Shu's alarm turns on. He tries to leave, making an excuse, but An Yu stops him, saying, "You should have some food first." So Mr. Shu leaves with An Yu for dinner. Meanwhile, Shishi, seeing her dad happy with An Yu, feels sad and goes to her room. Jin, having gained access to the system, exits the study room. Shishi overhears the servants talking about how Mr. Shu has changed since An Yu came. One servant says he is not angry anymore and treats everyone kindly. Another servant adds, maybe he's just really happy to have his other daughter. Hearing all this, Shishi is even more upset. After the interview ends in the evening, An Yu goes to Shishi's room. Shishi tells her, "I was upset seeing you with my dad, but now that I see him happy, it feels okay to me that someone will be there to take care of him." An Yu tries to console her, but Shishi says, "It's pointless, because there's nothing that can be done." An Yu encourages her, saying, "I'm happy to see you." Mr. Shu realizes that Jin had been in his study room, and at that moment, Shishi is there. She is feeling really ill. Mr. Shu suggests surgery for her, but Shishi refuses, saying, "I know I can't escape this." Mr. Shu insists, "You'll be fine this time," but then Shishi faints. Mr. Shu immediately calls a doctor. Meanwhile, Jin and An Yu reach the biotech lab, where they find an experimental room. They both go inside. The preparations for Shishi's surgery are in full swing. When she regains consciousness, she panics and tries to get up, but Mr. Shu calms her down, saying, "Surgery will fix you this time." But Shishi keeps refusing, saying, "You've always told me the same thing, and there have been no results from all the checkups. I've only felt pain." Mr. Shu says, "You will be completely cured, because now we have a clone of you." Shishi is shocked to hear this. Mr. Shu says, "An Yu isn't your twin sister, but a clone made to cure you." Shishi is shocked. An Yu and Jin enter the experimental room and find out that An Yu is Shishi's clone, created to provide Shishi with healthy organs. They see many other clones of Shishi in the room, all of whom died during the experiments. An Yu is shocked and sad. Jin consoles her by saying, "You are An Yu, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you, so don't worry." Jin then takes pictures of the experimental data to expose Mr. Shu's illegal activities. They try to leave the room, but the door is automatically locked. Then they hear Mr. Shu's voice, who is watching them through the CCTV cameras. He says, "Your game is over now because you know the truth." He calls Jin by his real name, Gu Cheng, because he has figured out Jin's true identity. He says, "I know you're the son of Dr. Gu." Jin is surprised to hear this. Meanwhile, Jin's dad suddenly regains consciousness and comes out of coma. Zhang is happy to see him. On the other hand, Mr. Shu releases poisonous gas in the room, making Shishi and Jin unconscious. When Jin regains consciousness, his hands are bound. Meanwhile, Shishi and An Yu's surgery is underway. Mr. Shu holds Jin at gunpoint and forces An Yu to cooperate with the surgery. To save Jin, An Yu agrees. However, Shishi continues to refuse, saying, "I don't want to save my life by sacrificing on you." Mr. Shu doesn't agree. A doctor steps forward, places a knife against Shishi's neck, and orders everyone, "Stop!" He removes the mask and realizes it is Ding. After a while, Jin's bodyguard arrives with Jin's dad and frees Jin. Jin is delighted to see his father. Jiang tells Jin, "You need to provide your fingerprints again to open the operation room." Jin starts working on it. Meanwhile, Jin's dad pleads with Mr. Shu, "Stop everything," but Mr. Shu ignores him. Jin's dad then shocks Mr. Shu with a revelation. "And you is your biological daughter, and Shishi is her clone." But Mr. Shu doesn't believe him. Jin's dad reminds Dr. Zeng there was a marking error during the experiment. They mistakenly marked Anyu as a clone and Shishi as the real child. This led them to keep creating Shishi's clones, causing their experiments to fail. Shishi was their first successful clone. Jin's dad asks Dr. Zeng, "Compare the DNA reports of Anyu and Shishi to confirm who is the biological daughter and who is the clone." But Mr. Shu still doesn't believe it. Jin's father says, "Anyu had cancer from birth. So when her first clone, Shishi, was created, she had cancer too. But due to their mistake in the marking, the other clones of Shishi became weaker, leading to their death. Shishi, being the first clone, survived. As time passed, Anyu recovered completely, and Shishi was also recovering. Mr. Shu gets emotional and starts sharing memories of Shishi's childhood. Dr. Zeng compares the DNA reports and discovers Anyu is Mr. Shu's biological daughter, and Shishi is her clone. Dr. Zeng also reveals Shishi's cancer would have gone away if Mr. Shu hadn't kept her confined at home. Mr. Shu feels incredibly sad and guilty. He says, "It's all my fault, and I will do whatever it takes to cure Shishi." He pulls out a gun and fires it in the air. Mr. Shu points a gun at the doctors and tells them, "Continue the surgery." Jin is still struggling to set his fingerprint. The process is taking a long time. Meanwhile, the surgery is underway. But during surgery, Shishi passes away. Despite this, Mr. Shu is determined to save her. He asks Dr. Zeng, "Transplant and use heart and brain into Shishi." Dr. Zeng tries to explain, "This is impossible. Shishi can't be saved," but Mr. Shu grabs the scalpel and prepares to operate. Just then, Jin opens the operating room door and stops Mr. Shu. A fight breaks out between Mr. Shu's men and Jin's team. Meanwhile, Mr. Shu leaves the operating room and activates the lab's self-destruction sequence, setting off a countdown for a massive explosion in 5 minutes. Jin quickly uses his fingerprints to get everyone out of the room, but the self-destruction mode has locked the lab's exits. To keep the doors open, Jin needs to keep his fingerprints on the system. If he takes his hand away, the lab will explode in seconds. Jin tells his friends, "Leave!" He then tells Tiansu, "Take Anyu away." Meanwhile, Jiang is frantically trying to deactivate the self-destruction mode, but time is running out. Mr. Shu returns to the operating room and tells Jin, "Shishi's body is here, so won't let you out because you killed Shishi." He starts beating Jin, but Jin doesn't remove his hand from the system. Anyu refuses to leave Jin alone, so she goes back to him. They all reach the elevator, but it's full, so Ding and Jin's dad can't go. Jin's dad tells Ding, "Go upstairs. I know about a circuit that can temporarily stop the explosion for 1 minute. We'll get some time to escape." Then Ding takes him to upstairs. Meanwhile, Mr. Shu tries to attack Jin. Seeing this, Anyu begins talking to Mr. Shu as if she is Shishi. Mr. Shu actually believes it's Shishi and is happy to see her. But then, he sees the real Shishi's body and becomes enraged, attacking Anyu. Jin jumps in to protect Anyu and attacks Mr. Shu. Only a few seconds remain. However, just 1 second before the explosion, Jin's dad cuts the circuit wire, giving them a full minute to escape. Jin takes Anyu and leaves. Mr. Shu follows them, but is arrested by the police. Ding and Jin's dad had gone deep into the lab and couldn't get out in time. They are trapped inside as the blasts begin, one after another. A blast occurs near them, and the scene changes. We now see a hospital where Ding regains consciousness after a long time. Tiansu is overjoyed to see him safe. However, we learn that Jin's dad sacrificed himself to save Ding, which makes Ding deeply saddened. Jin misses his dad greatly, and Anyu comforts him. 2 years pass, and Anyu and Jin are living a peaceful life in a cozy countryside cottage. Anyu remembers Shishi. Jin tells Anyu, "Mr. Shu died in jail." Then Jin takes Anyu to watch a movie. After the movie ends, Jin leaves. After everyone else leaves, Jin projects an image of the Sydney Opera House and goes in front of Anyu to propose to her. Anyu happily accepts. The drama ends with a happy ending. If you like this drama, let us know in the comments. For watch more dramas like this, subscribe to the channel.